Hey, what's up, guys? I wanted to make this video because I wanted to discuss with you guys whether, I know the hip hop environment is currently changing and people are basically turning on Drake and they're kind of looking at him now as an outsider. Some people are questioning whether he was ever a part of the culture, whether his music was ever really that good, whether he does stuff with kids, whether he's a pedo, etc. So I really wanted to create this discussion with you guys because for me, as I go back through his music, his albums, I think Drake wasn't necessarily ever the best, but he was pretty good. I mean, he certain specific types of tracks like One Dance and things of that nature, I thought were pretty good. They were well produced. Even if someone had written them for him, I thought they were still pretty good songs, and I thought that they certainly added something to the culture. They certainly added something to hip hop. However, I do think that Drake was never really a part of that fundamental, uh, like core aspect of the culture and of hip hop, like Kendrick is. You know, Drake, for example, well, we all know the rumors that turned out to be true that he has writers. Drake has writers. People write for him. They even create melodies for him. They create like these template soundtracks to where they'll already have the beat and then they'll just get on there and they'll create like the chorus and he then develops it further. He may add a different word or something like that, and then they gradually, prepare a full track. It's definitely a collaborative effort, and he definitely has some kind of almost slave workers in his studio preparing those tracks for him. However, I do think that some of those tracks were kind of like a fundamental part of the culture going back the past, few years. I think almost a decade now, with some of his pop music and songs like that. I think were definitely fundamental. I think everyone who listens to hip hop was pretty much listening to them. However, I never thought of him as like that level skill or caliber rapper. And now, as I've matured, as many of you have matured, and you go back and you look at his character, you look at his music, one thing I've noticed is that he definitely raps. He certainly raps with a kind of insecurity. He does somewhat feel like an outsider, which I imagine anyone would feel if you're, coming from a Toronto suburb and you're in this industry where a lot of the dudes are genuinely from impoverished backgrounds, from the streets, and particularly from the streets of America. So I think that's something to consider, that he is in some regard an outsider, but I do think that he earned his respect in the industry because he has been doing it for many years and he has been extremely successful at it. Now, I want to go through his albums. Um, People really love his first album. Let me see what it was called. I forgot, honestly. His first album, what was it? Thank Me Later? I think it was Thank Me Later. Um, what do you guys think about that? I really. Actually, that was pretty cool back then because it was a new sound. He was approaching it with this new style. He didn't look like the biggest rappers at the time, which were like Lil Wayne. He was on a softer kind of R&B style approach to rap. And so those early albums, I think were good, particularly if you take into consideration the environment at the time. I think those new albums were pretty good. So Thank Me Later, considering the environment, considering the culture at the time, he definitely breathed some new uh, energy into the culture. And so, and it was fun and it was exciting. And who was this new guy? And what was his wave? And what was his sound? And how, where was he going with it? And then you had Take Care. Take Care. So apparently, Take Care, a lot of it was actually the weekends. So from early on, he was taking music that was another artist and presenting it as his own, which many pop artists do, but it's kind of considered taboo in hip hop because it's meant to be your own work, your own wordplay, your own creativity. That's kind of what puts you on the tier list as a rapper, and that's what people look for when they become fans of you, when they want to listen to your music. So Take Care, I'm not so sure about. Um, it has a few songs. I think it certainly was a fundamental part of the culture at that time. We all listened to it. It was the after club music. It was the dating. If you had a girlfriend, to think about something like that. So it was definitely a big part of it. And then you had Take Care. After Take Care, you had Nothing Was the Same. Nothing Was the Same, I think, was when he really developed into a top tier. You knew he was one of the top rappers. You knew his albums would sell. You knew his music got listened to. It got played everywhere. And he tried to kind of approach it with this hip hop integrity approach with the samples and the style. However, in reality, if you go back and listen to it, Nothing Was the Same was definitely a mid album. You know, it was mid. Nobody's gonna go play that back, but for you know, just to reminisce. You know, people want to reminisce. They'll listen to that. Oh, that at that time I was living like this. I was doing that. I was dating this person, but nobody's really checking for that album as far as like a fundamental record of hip hop. Then you had one of my favorite, which like I thought was really high quality work, is If You're Reading This It's Too Late. I mean, that was fire. That was fire. I don't know what it was. It was like a mixtape slash album. That's also when he had that rap beef with Meek Mill, where he dropped those two diss songs and he completely obliterated Meek Mill. You know, that album was super fire. That album was good. That's the album where all those allegations about him using writers came out, and it turned out to be true. A lot of a lot of the template tracks came out where it was another artist who was doing the chorus, who was even rapping some of the bars, and he would take it from there and develop it further as a finished product. That's when the allegations that came true, and that's when they proved to be true. But it was a phenomenal album. He does suggest some type of drug activity or that he came up in Toronto doing bad things, which of course is complete bullshit. You know, good kid, but that's, I think, where he started to kind of go this roadman, British roadman, street dude type vibe, right? And then he also had What a Time to Be Alive. I mean, he was on fire that year. He was on fire. Whatever he dropped, it was on fire. Views sucked. Nobody's checking for views. Views absolutely sucked. More Life, I can't really talk about. I didn't listen to it. Scorpion, I did listen to. He did copy a lot of British rap styles. I was walking around in London one day, and I heard them playing, and I thought I heard some dudes playing a song, and I was like, "Who's this British rapper?" And it was Drake. He literally copied what was hot in British rap, in London style UK rap trap type sound, mixed with grime. He literally copied that, and then he put a bunch of gigs on some of the raps, but he never put any of on some of the songs, but he never put any of the upcoming artists whose styles he copied. You know, he never showed them. He just went to the city, he went to London, had a bunch of shows there, and he brought a bunch of them out. But he copied the British style super hard, you know, and he's tried to do this roadman thing, which makes no sense. You're worth like 90, you're worth so much freaking money. So much freaking money. Your house alone is like $100 million or more. You're worth so much money. Bro, you're not a street dude. You know, he should have moved away from that. You're not a street dude. Certified lover boy, Big L. Nobody listened to that. And then from then on, nobody listens to his stuff besides some, teenagers or whatever. So overall, I mean, you consider that put together, it's a pretty fundamental. It's a big footstep, in the history of hip hop, in the history of rap. However, now with the Kendrick beef, he got totally outmaneuvered and he got totally smoked. Kendrick just dissected him with that first diss song. He dissected him, he questioned his character, he changed the public's perspective about Drake. He challenged their perspective, like, hey, look at this guy. He's really an outsider. Doesn't it feel uncomfortable when this Toronto half Jewish, half black kid is saying the N word? Who is he? He kind of tried to embrace this American style, pretend that he's so fundamental to the culture, but really we're the culture, and I'm from LA, and this and that. And he dissected his character. He mentioned him having writers. I mean, I'm gonna make another video going through that song and the bar and Kendrick's bars, and really dissecting it and examining how he absolutely demolished Drake with that first diss song against Drake. His responses were trash. Drake's responses were trash. Some Drake fans, blah blah blah, but in reality, Drake's responses were trash. But I think he definitely has played a fundamental part in hip hop from when he got involved in like 2009 until today, and he's put out some fire stuff that we enjoyed, we danced to, we laughed to. I'm sure some dudes who lost relationships and whatnot cried to. He did some street vibe stuff. It didn't really hit like that, but it kept the people entertained. But now it's really coming down. The street stuff didn't really work like that. Nobody believed it. And so we'll see where this goes, But I think that Drake certainly played a fundamental, part in the history of rap. Let me know what you guys think. That's my perspective. I'd really appreciate to hear what you guys think. And let's keep this discussion going. See ya.